so much, Dominica.
Thank you for joining.
All right, can you see my screen okay here?
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so I would love to talk to you about health, safety, and environment and your part possibly in it in the future if this is a career that you should choose. Well, I need my screen to go forward here. There we go. Okay, so what is HSE? Health, Safety, and Environmental. And you can see this in all kinds of different forms. It just depends on your company, the region, the country that you're in as to what the standard is. So a lot of the time in Alaska, you're going to say HSE. You might also see HSES, which actually stands, that last S is for securities. Typically, that's not physical securities. That's more like how you're going to address your digital securities and such. Or it could be site security. SHE, SNH, you get the idea. Sometimes we call it HSEQ when there's quality control involved. Most often, you're just going to see health, safety, and environmental. But that environmental part is very important, especially up here in Alaska, where we love our home and we want to take care of it no matter what kind of work we're doing. All right, and I already talked about the securities bulletin at the bottom there, or bullet. So health, we focus on worker health and the health of anyone else that might be impacted by the work being done. So who might be impacted if we don't perform our tasks safely is definitely something that we have to keep at the top of our thoughts every day. Basically, when you go to work as a health safety person, that is really what you're looking for. You're looking to keep people safe. You're looking to keep them going home with their fingers and toes, with a good respiratory system, not exposed to chemicals, not exposed to too many loud noises, etc. Safety is obviously another focus. We think about who could get hurt, how might they be hurt, how could this impact their lives? And a really big question is how could they impact their families' lives? Way too many stories out there about folks getting hurt, possibly taking chemicals home to their loved ones in the form of maybe lead in items that didn't get washed at work, or maybe it's other chemical that they might be exposed to. Maybe it's just bad habits that they learn at work and take home with them. So we want to do the opposite. We want to get those good habits into folks while they're at work. We want to get that safety culture going so they're literally taking those habits home with them. Environment, we focus on the environment. There are strict environmental regulations that we must follow while we're working. These exist to protect our environment and that of future generations. If you've ever worked on the North Slope, if you've ever worked in nuclear facilities, there's quite a few different places. I mean, the list is endless of places that environment is a huge priority, just like health and safety. Basically, it should be safety, environment, and then your job. That is the right priority for the most part when you are a health and safety and environmental person. Safety, environment, and then your job. Your job comes last. That doesn't mean your job isn't super important, but it means in priority, it does come last. So HSE and regulation, no one ever wakes up in the morning and thinks, well, I'm going to get hurt today and that's okay. It's just not a thing. Unfortunately, it happens all the time, every day. So hurting people is just non-negotiable. We'd all rather do a thing once and do it right. Family and friends should never have to worry about us when we go to work. And clear communication is key to that safety. And HSE folks can really, really help with that. If you ask me what my job is on a site, I will tell you my job is to help you keep you and your coworkers safe. If you're relying on safety to keep everyone safe by themselves, it's an impossibility. We cannot be out there saying, hey, stop what you're doing for a minute. Think about it again. Hey, pre-plan. Hey, maybe you should clarify that communication. This is our job overall, but we can't do this with every single person all the time, every day, right? It's just not possible. You'd have one safety person for every worker out there on a site or in a location. So our job is to help get you trained, get you sharing lessons learned. If something has happened to any of you, it should be learned, it should be shared, and it should be okay to share that learning because we don't want it happening again. And that's the only way that's really going to happen, right? So sharing lessons learned in your experiences is really important. And we also help you do that by taking that information, having safety meetings, incorporating it into training, incorporating it into policies and procedures. So we also have histories and case studies that we look at. There's many, unfortunately, far too many historical cases and case studies that we can look at to help us avoid those things from happening again in future. So I really like history, and HSC is a great way to combine your current job with a historical element. We just really don't want large incidents happening again, or any incidents, but large incidents can really teach us a lot. Large incidents have like Piper Alpha. If you've ever heard of that one, you can Google it. That taught us the permitting system was absolutely necessary to control the work that was going on, to make sure everybody's literally on the same page, to make sure clear communication happened. So these are all, from lessons learned and historical cases that we've looked at to try and improve current and future work. And so that also involves looking at tracking and trending information. When I am out there, I do talk about trends. I don't necessarily spit a whole lot of regulations, and I'll talk to you more about what's going on in your job and see how that information can impact you or help you in that job. So I don't necessarily go out there and spit a whole bunch of data out at everybody, because I don't find it's the most fruitful way to get the point across. However, if you're sitting in a board meeting with your supervision and they want to know, how many times has this type of incident happened? How many times has somebody, cut their fingers? Well, maybe we're looking at the wrong kind of gloves out there in the field, right? So this tracking and trending helps us guide you in future, and make sure these things don't happen again. And safety is an awareness. Safety is an awareness of what is going on, what can hurt me, how can I stop it, all the time, all the time. How can we do better? Continuous improvement. So that tracking and trending part of your job is actually pretty important. So HSE and regulations, like any occupation, you need to be experienced to do it well. HSE professionals help their teams by avoiding regulatory mistakes, by identifying and mitigating hazards, by pre-planning projects, by developing communication tools. Again, they develop those trending tools and those programs because we've got to get that information, but we've got to get that data, that tracking and that trending. We've got to get it accurately. And maybe we aren't clear when we start a project of exactly what data we need, and we can learn as we go as well. So again, always continuous improvement when you are in safety. So that sounds like you're a person that just always wants to do better, wants to help people, wants to help folks communicate, wants to help the job go right and build those safety cultures. This is the career for you. It's a really great career. It's lucrative. It can take you around the world. There's just absolutely nowhere that you go. You could go into a grocery store and talk about food safety, or lifting or ergonomic safety, or something as simple as slips, trips, and falls, and how those can really impact, if not end a life, in a simple grocery store. Right? Or it may be that you're going into a nuclear facility, or on an oil rig, or somewhere on the North Slope of Alaska. Safety can take you absolutely anywhere. So that's another one of my favorite parts of this profession, is that you never stop growing, you never stop learning. You do get really, really good. And like I said at the top, experience does help you do it well, like any job. But you also didn't have to learn every single word in English in the dictionary to know English, right? So you need to know your resources, and you're going to be learning these things as you go on. So nobody jumps into a job just knowing what they're doing. However, I will talk about some programs and formal education that will definitely help you get there faster. So helping build safety cultures. This bottom bullet is really important to me. Culture is not just about rules and regulations. If it were, this would all be very easy. You lay the rule out, you see how that rule works. Yes, it works great. If people follow it, great, everyone follows it. Unfortunately, that's just not life. People come to work tired. They come distracted. Other things are happening in our lives. Sometimes we need that reminder, hey, this is the right thing to do. Don't get in a rush, try to focus. These are all things that your safety folks can help you with. And really also, this is about management. Every person in management should really be a safety person. In fact, everyone out there should be a safety person. Maybe not with the formal education, but absolutely everyone needs to look out for each other out there. That's how we get home safe, with all our fingers and toes, no exposures, job done well. and we get paid and we move on to the next job. Or, I'm very construction oriented, as you can tell. So that's my thought pattern is if you're doing your job right, you're always working yourself out of a job when it comes to construction, but we've got to do it safely. If we don't do it safely and keep our recordables or our injuries or incidents down, then we're not maybe even going to be able to submit a bid on the next project because they have a minimum requirement for that safety culture. Any questions so far? Okay, great. I'm moving on. So helping build safety cultures and really putting something into place that makes everyone feel like they're able to share those experiences, get the training they need, ask the questions they need. I'm going to admit this every once in a while, it does feel like you're a little bit of a camp counselor is the word I will use. Because if you don't have that buy-in, you don't have that communication, and you don't have folks that are willing to come and trust you with that information to know that you're going to use that information right, that's the kind of HSE folks we need out there to have really good programs. If we don't have that, it definitely gets harder to do your job. So what makes a really great safety person, since I'm kind of talking about this anyway, integrity. If you don't believe in what you are saying, maybe this is not the job for you. Integrity is absolutely key. And if you are that person with that integrity that's going to do what they say, you're going to report injuries, you're going to make sure people have what they need, you're going to follow up on requests and needs for information, this is the job for you. So integrity, you got to have a good attitude. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, I'm having an issue with this, but I'm not really sure what I should do about it, and my response is, we'll figure it out, that's not going to work well, right? They're not going to continue to come to me for help or aid. And I'm not going to get clued into what I really need to know, which is what is really going on my site or in my work location, my project, etc. So good attitude is really, really important. I will say that it is a stressful job sometimes. When somebody gets hurt, it's really necessary to have strong communication skills, make sure you're understanding what people are saying, make sure that you can do accident investigations if that's in your job realm, which it often is if you're a safety person. You've got to maintain a good attitude through all of that. People are hurt, people are mad, people are frustrated, clients might, we're off track. You've got to maintain that good attitude. And with that comes that strong communication skills so you can really do the job that you need to do appropriately. So approachability goes with all of that, right? And that's probably more of what I talked about in the first place. If I have somebody report something to me and I don't have the right attitude or approachability, it's probably not going to happen again. And then my job gets much, much harder. You don't want to be that safety person out there standing in the corner, wondering what everybody is doing, wondering what they're hiding from you, it just shouldn't be that way. If you have a really good safety culture and a really approachable safety person, they will come to you to solve those problems, hopefully before they become problems. So a lot of hazard recognition and awareness, and again, that approachability is key. Self-motivation. Sometimes it is just you on that project or that job site, and there are 300 other people that need your help and your guidance and your motivation, and for you to maintain that good attitude. So self-motivation is definitely a thing you need to have in this industry. Not that you can't have really great supervisors. I'm very lucky in that way. I have wonderful people that I work for and with, but you don't always get that. And I will definitely admit that there are times in my career where I have just gone, man, is it just me or does this seem too hard? So, and I'm sure like any career that can happen, but that self-motivation is key to keeping you going as well, and reaching out for your other resources, your coworkers, your ex-coworkers. I'm part of like the American Society of Safety Professionals. There are networks out there to help you and motivate you as well and give you the things that you need, but you got to stay self-motivated. And I'm going to add something before I move on. It's not always the easiest thing to do that. Like any job, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our own lives as well. But when you use that network, it really, really helps you. So I don't encourage you to just go into safety and be a singular person out there doing your job. That networking is really, really important in our career. Okay, personal accountability. I think that kind of goes with the integrity. Your personal accountability, if you can't set an example for people, they're not going to buy into what you're saying. So you really do have to walk the walk, talk. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, right? So personal accountability is really important. Learning mindset, you're always learning. You can't ever not be learning in safety. It's one of my favorite parts about it. If you wanted to be an industrial hygienist, if you wanted to be a trainer, I will talk about those in a few more slides here. I know I've only got a half an hour, so I'm going to move on a little bit. You need to be detailed, especially when it comes to things like rolling out information that's regulatory, making sure you're doing calculations properly, whether that's for how much noise someone is hearing, decibel readings, and the calculations to go with exposure, or maybe it's chemical exposure, etc., or maybe it's just filling out investigation reports. All these things take a lot of detail. You need to have a good memory. It's really important to be able to walk around your site and see things and go, man, was that like that yesterday? Or is that supposed to look like that? I saw that come out of the box and it didn't look like that, right? And a good memory just as far as incidents. You look at these case studies and you remember these things, and you don't just walk around with a notebook full of that case study info. You got to really absorb that info and go, where can I apply this? Where can I make this not happen in my job site? And of course, that experience is always key, and you're always going to be gaining that experience. But again, networking and using your resources, and I mean like other people in your network, are going to help you gain that experience so much faster. So what kind of jobs are there? You could be a field safety specialist. You can observe workplaces while you keep in mind regulations and help workers identify hazards, create programs to prevent injury. You may create and deliver training or possibly toolbox meetings or training during toolbox meetings. Or during safety meetings. So we might have a morning safety meeting, and then around lunch, when everybody comes back, we might say, hey, we're going to have a quick tailgate or a quick toolbox. We're going to talk about some things that we noticed on the site this morning. It's always continual improvement, always being aware of what's going on your job site. So the national average salary for a field safety specialist is about $72,000. The average in Alaska is about $91,000. So it is definitely a decent career. Teams depend on their IH, and IH is an industrial hygienist. So when we're talking about noise calculations, chemical calculations, what kind of respirators should we wear, etc., teams depend on their IHs to guide them in how to work with chemicals safely, or to tell them when hazards are just too high to perform that work. Many calculations involving exposure to chemicals are lengthy and complicated, and breathing is not something you take lightly, so we don't want anybody screwing those up. And IH is absolutely an essential part of most industrial safety teams. And I will say, you don't have to be good at math, but it sure helps. The national average salary for an industrial hygienist is about $88,000. The average in Alaska is about $98,000 per year. And this pay for this position in Alaska typically ranges anywhere from about 71 to 132,000 per year. Good example, you can reach that 132 on the slope. You're working a lot of overtime. It's a great place to work though. Safety trainers. This is what I spent a lot of my career doing, as well as being in the field. Safety trainers influence safety culture from the moment people step into that door, that facility, that job, that career. You are influencing them. You will be brand new to your company, the work you're doing, or both. And that safety person, that safety trainer is going to help you get in the groove and make sure to set you up for success. It's really fun to get people excited about safety and set them up for success. So patience and a great attitude are absolutely key for this position. Seeing a person learn something new that might save their life is one of the most fulfilling jobs you can do every single day. Very detailed management of audited training records must also be your responsibility, or may also. I almost guarantee it, unless you have an admin that helps you, which a lot of us do not. Safety is always in demand, and there's never enough of us. So often you are doing the job by yourself or with a very small team, and that definitely safety trainers definitely experience that. So the average U.S. salary for a safety trainer is about $64,000, $64,000 per year. The average in Alaska is about $71,000 per year. So again, pretty lucrative, and it can take you just about anywhere. The skills that you need to be a safety trainer can transfer to so many other careers as well. These days, we're healthy, we're living longer, we have second careers pretty frequently. A lot of those skills are great soft skills to transfer to other careers as well. Safety managers investigate incidents, have tough conversations, as do most safety staff. And if you ever wanted to be a detective, safety feels very similar to that some days. This position is very diverse and you must manage many situations and handle stress well on a daily basis. So the average US salary for a safety manager is about 112,000. In Alaska, that's about 125. Again, you're probably seeing a trend at this point. Alaska does pay more. So if you've ever gone to a business without a safety person, you might not see us, but I promise you, we are actually there. Whether it's a grocery store, I talked about that a little bit, whether it's maritime, you're out on a boat, maybe dock safety, mining, transportation. It does not matter what actual company you work at. I promise you, there is a safety person there somewhere. So that's a really great thing about this job is you can take this job anywhere. And I don't just mean in the US, I mean anywhere. You may not know all the regulations and all the policies and procedures of an overseas company, but by gosh, you know how to use your resources and you know the basics of safety and you can go all over the world with this career. And I have many, many friends and networked acquaintances that do. There are a lot more positions in safety. I won't read every one of these. I'll just touch a few. You could be a health and safety specialist. You could be a safety engineer, a loss control coordinator, which also goes hand in hand if you ever worked or wanted to work for an insurance company. A lot of the time, that risk control or that loss control is very similar. You could be a consultant and have your own business. You could be a director, injury prevention specialist. You really focus on how people get physically hurt and what to do about it. Maybe you're a product safety engineer. You test things to make sure they are as safe as they need to be. So a lot. This is just a small list. It really is an endless list of what you could do out there in safety and how you can be involved with the workplaces that you work at. And I'll add this before I move on. If you ever wanted to experiment or let's say test out being in a safety role, you can see if there is a safety group at your work. Maybe there's a safety committee. There's a committee at a lot of works that you can volunteer to be on, jobs, excuse me, that you can volunteer to be on. If you ever want to kind of experiment and see how you like it, see if you want to get involved, see how fulfilling it is to help keep people safe, volunteer on your work or on your office committee or in your work committee. It's a good way to kind of see if you're going to like that. So on average, Alaska pays about 10,000 more than the rest of the US. The more experience you have, the better the pay. Having a bachelor's degree is typically required, not always, but typically required. Many start in craft or other field positions, and through experience and training, they can earn certifications. This is actually the way I went. I got into the field. I started learning safety. I did field safety. Then I started training and went out into the field back and forth to cover different sites, etc. And then I actually got a degree much later in life. And I didn't get a bachelor's degree in safety. I got one in project management. Sometimes things marry quite well. And so I decided I've got all my safety certs. Why don't I go ahead and get a degree that marries well with that? So your degree, it needs to be a bachelor's most of the time, but it doesn't have to be in safety. So it's a good idea, but not always required. It does prove your education, but a professional certification demonstrates your experience. So both are a very good idea. So just imagine your name here. This is a CHST, Construction Health and Safety Technician certification. There are all kinds of certifications that meet national standards, help you set yourself apart from the competition, and identify and confirm your competency at a professional level. So being acknowledged as a professional in your industry will open more doors, more experiences, and in turn, better pay and greater flexibility in where you work and what you get to experience every day. So what is required? You should study a lot. And then when you think you're done, you should study some more. There are literally apps to help you do this. CHST study apps, OHST, all kinds of stuff, ASP study apps. Accumulate experience and resources. Get a bachelor's degree if you can. Sit for your safety certificate exam. Your eligibility is based on your experience and your level of schooling. So you can sit for some with degrees, some without. A CHST, which is a construction health and safety technologist, or an occupational health and safety technologist, that does require a minimum of 3 years field experience, with 35% of that being safety duties. We've got a CIT, a certified instructional technologist, especially if you want to train, you want to create training. Course or training developers, you need about 135 hours of training, teaching, or development. That's really not too much, especially if you start volunteering for some of those safety committees in your either work or your network or your area. That'll help you get up to that pretty quick if you just go up and instruct and start learning. CSP, Certified Safety Professional. They do worksite risk assessments, regulatory compliance, hazardous materials management, emergency response, etc. You will need a bachelor's degree in any field to sit for this one, and you need a minimum of 4 years experience, with half of that being safety duties. So formal education is available at the University of Alaska. We have a bachelor's in occupational safety and health, and that is a 4-year degree. And then you've got a University of Alaska Anchorage 2-year degree in occupational safety and health as well. That's applied science degree. So the advantages of working in Alaska: we help keep our community safe. We work with great people and great cultures. We get paid more and there is less competition. We have a tighter community of support than many other places, although HSC, especially when you join those support networks and groups, there is a lot of support out there. It just may not be right next door to you or in your same work location. But you cannot be your best alone in this occupation. Work opportunities abound. We have a huge variety of career options in Alaska due to our healthy and varied economy. We are always in demand in safety. And if you call Alaska home, this is a great chance to get involved and make a difference now and for generations to come, especially when it comes to worksite culture, and especially when it comes to environmental protection. So we do have an Alaska Safety Alliance job board. If you would like to post, you can post your resume for free. We do free resume reviews. We do free apprenticeship postings, and you can review industry postings there as well. That is an Alaska specific job board. So that's on alaskasafetyalliance.org. You can go to the top right and hit jobs, and you'll find that. And other than that, I would just like to say I have thoroughly enjoyed my experience being a safety person. I really love what I do, and it is quite fulfilling. And I highly recommend, if you want a lucrative job that's really easy to find a new job when you want one, because there's not enough of us, safety's for you. Any questions on any of that?
Thank you so much, Carrie. I don't see any questions. However, I remember there was one question about safety and whether you would be available to, excuse me, deliver these presentations and workshops for high school.
I actually was at a high school career fair at UAA this, let's see, 2 weekends ago. And yes, we do this all the time, whether it's high schools, whether it's just career pathways, shows, anything like that. Absolutely, that is what we do. Alaska Safety Alliance is actually also the Alaska Workforce Alliance now, and we really at our core are both. We are here to help Alaska be safer and to get them the resources and fill in gaps that might not be available for training, etc. But also, we are all about workforce development at our core. That is really what we are. So absolutely, we would love to.
Thank you. So that would be something individuals would reach out to you directly.
Yes. Yes. And if they'd like to go to our, you can either send it to info@alaskasafetyalliance.org. I'm not the only one that does these, or you can send it straight to me at Carrie, which is CARRIE @alaskasafetyalliance.org.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you very much for having me again back this year. It's an honor to come and speak to your folks, and I hope we've motivated some folks to find a wonderful career.
Always. That's my hope. Thank
you
so
very much.
Carrie. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.